Hello, Bournemouth fans, and welcome to episode 8 in the series, the AFC Bournemouth Best 11, the Eddie Howe years. And in this video, we're going to debate the strikers. We're going to complete that lineup. But if you haven't seen the other episodes yet, have you been under a rock? 1 to 7 is in the playlist within YouTube, or you can hit the top of the card at the top of the screen. Also, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 500 before the season starts. We're only a few weeks away. Also, hit the like button. Notified for new content, you hit that bell, and we're going to get straight on with episode 8. Who have I got on this one? And what a packed room we have on episode 8. We've got the Cherries Red Army team. We've got Aaron. How you doing, Aaron?
Very good. Thank you, Kurt.
John, also in red and black. How you doing, John?
Yeah, doing good. Just coming off the back of the first pre-season friendly, so it's getting very real the start of the season.
Dan in Steve's favourite colour, yellow. How you doing, Dan?
Fantastic, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. And Steve in a neutral Bournemouth shirt by the looks of it. How you doing, Steve?
I was all right till I saw Dan's shirt, but yeah, no, I'm not too bad.
We're here then, episode 8, and we're going to debate the strikers. But remember the rules. We all know the rules now. There was a player pool we had to work from. We're going to have some contenders in a minute that we're going to look for, and then we're going to debate those contenders. You're going to have one each. And then we're going to try and decide who's going to take those final positions. So who have we got in the contender list on this one? We have the legend, Steve Fletcher, Josh King, Callum Wilson, Yann Kermogant, and Brett Pitman. But Aaron, there was a lot of players to pick from, and we'll bring up that player pool in just a minute. And give us a name from your choice that could have maybe made that cut, but didn't.
Yeah, obviously there was, as with the midfielders, there were so many to choose from. I think we came up with the 5 who we felt, but there's so many there. Obviously Jermaine Defoe springs to mind. Not so good in his second spell, but obviously he's incredible in his first spell, and that obviously still counts under the rules. Lewis Graben, obviously again a goal machine. His early years with us as well. But everyone, so many people contributed. Benik Afobe scored some critical goals over the Premier League era as well. Much maligned, but scored some really important goals. And obviously Dom Solanke, the goal machine last season, who we hope will continue to be the goal machine next season as well. So but as many, all of those names, contributed down the years.
Kenwyne Jones as well. John scored a very big goal in that championship season at Ipswich. He's classed as a legend, even with 1 goal.
Yeah, just for that celebration, to be honest, as well. I always picture Harry Arter backing off from him as he's completing that that tumble across the pitch. He's sort of a cult hero, I suppose, amongst the fans, even though he only came on sort of 5 minutes at the end of every game for that promotion-winning season. But a name that's been there and done it international level as well, who was I'm sure a great person to have in the changing room when we were in the running for winning that season.
And Dan, if he scored, we were on the pitch. TK Ranty, another legend.
Ranty, yeah. Oh, wasn't he the first player? I remember thinking, how much did we buy him for? 2-3 million, was it? I think
Malmo, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember thinking, God, that's a lot of money. He's got to be half decent. I remember he was pacey, I can't remember. I think he did all right. I think when he came in, but it didn't really work for him overall. I'm most frustrated about who am I most frustrated about, Kirk?
Dom Solanke.
Exactly. Where is he? Where is he in this shortlist? My man, the absolute GOAT himself. 20 goals next season. I'm calling it here. So,
and that's why he didn't make it. If he'd have got 20 goals, he'd have been in.
Yeah, but he's a humble man. He wants to be fair to everyone else competing with him. You see, next season he'll give it better.
And Steve, when I look at that list, why do I get drawn to Lewis Graben when I think about you?
I don't know. You tell me. Maybe it's my goatee.
Maybe.
I've no idea, mate. But yeah, Grabs was great for us in the first championship season. Did come back to us, didn't he? Never really got in the squad or in the team. When he got likes of Callum in front of you and Josh at that time, it was a bit of a struggle for him. But yeah, some really good names in there. There's some honourable mentions. There's people like Danny Ings, Matt Tubbs, great finishers. We've been blessed, really, with some of the striking talent we've had over the years.
So I know you guys pretty well now, and I know I need to keep you in check. The yellow card is here on this final episode, and the red one as well. And normally I'll do a coin toss to decide who goes first to the wheel decider, but it's going to be quite difficult. So what we're going to do to decide who goes first, and then we'll rotate round, is we're going to have an opening question. Okay. Now I can't give you a buzzer, but what I'm going to do is give you a name to shout out if you think you know the answer. Okay. So Aaron, you're Painter. Okay. John, you are Royce Wiggins. Okay. Dan, you're one of Turbe. And Steve, who can I give you, Steve?
Diego Rico.
I don't know.
Rico. Let's go Rico. So Steve is Diego Rico. Okay.
I shout his name quite a lot, to be fair.
So I'm going to ask a question, and if you know the answer, shout the player's name, give me the answer, you go first. Easy as that, okay? So, which football team did we play under Eddie Howe the first game in the Premier League?
Painter.
Rico.
Oh, I heard Painter.
Oh.
Coming to you, Aaron.
Oh,
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa.
I thought it was
Round of
that, but I didn't
applause.
trust myself.
Lost 1-0.
So there we go. Aaron.
Who
is
scored
gonna
the
go
goal?
first.
Callum.
Rudy Gusted, wasn't it?
yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
well done.
we lost.
For a bonus
We
point.
lost 1-0. So
Yeah.
Aaron, you're up.
Oh,
Here we go.
There we go.
Wheel decider. This is going to be the last time in this episode we're going to do the wheel decider. I'm going to miss it. Here we go. Wheel decider for you, Aaron. Who are you going to get? Beautiful, colourful wheel decider for Aaron. Got 2 reds in there.
Ooh.
And it is
Oh.
Yann Kermogant. Played a
Je ne sais
massive
quoi.
role in AFC Bournemouth's rise to the Premier League. Bring some stats up in a minute, Aaron. Yann Kermogant.
Yeah, so interestingly with Yann Kermogant, he obviously came in our first season in the Championship. Didn't play, he kind of played just under half the amount of games, but and in his third season he kind of left in the Premier League very early on. But his main season for us and his biggest effect, I think we remember him for, was obviously the Championship winning season when he was just absolutely class. Quite a big man. When he first kind of came in for Charlton, we thought, he's going to be like a target man. And he was to some degree, but he was so clever. The way he linked up with Callum Wilson in that Championship winning season, effectively kind of pushing Brett out of the team, who we'll come on to later. And he had so much class about him. He was clever. He took an incredible free kick. I'll never forget that free kick against Brighton. So many goals, bullet headers, overhead bicycle kicks, and good in the air, as I've said already. And he was just a complete centre forward, and he was an amazing foil for Callum that season. So yeah, he made the list purely because he was one of our most influential players and probably one of our most enjoyable ever seasons that season we won the Championship. So yeah, a lot of time for Yann. Good play, so much vision as well. He could bring players into the game, he could drop off, he could play as a front man, and so much ability. And the only thing I would say, I'm in 2 minds about whether he really got enough of a crack in the Premier League. I still think he had enough about him to have an impact, whether it was from the bench or not, or more starting. But Eddie obviously didn't fancy it. He was brought in to do a job. He did that job brilliantly, got us promoted. And along with a couple of other players, it was like, thanks very much, and we upgrade from here. But massively fond memories. One of my best memories of him actually was against Leeds at home. I can't remember, but we were like sort of 3 or 4-0 up really early on, and he was really influential in that game. And
Like Aaron said there, Steve, he scored some massive goals, some really famous goals. The overhead kick one comes to mind. But as Aaron pointed to there, as he went on into the Premier League, we talked about a player in a previous episode in Tommy Elphick maybe not being able to cut it or cut the mustard at that level. And he really did struggle. in his defence, he was getting service from Lee Tomlin, one of your other favourite players. But yeah, I mean, your thoughts on Yann Kermogant as well, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, Aaron's covered quite a lot of it, but what I liked about Yann is he was just an exciting player to watch. It wasn't so much what you knew he could do; it's what you knew he didn't have in his locker, and he did bring that sort of out. It surprised you even more so occasionally. But I mean, the overhead kicks are one. You just think, where's that come from? But you think Yann was the type of player. I always sort of likened him to a bit of a lower leagues Cantona in a way, and took penalties for us. Really calm and collected. Great to watch. But just a shame, like we said, he couldn't push on in the Premier League. I think his legs were a little bit. He wasn't ever the quickest of guys, was he? But I think what he lacked in pace, he made up with skill and ability.
Okay, so that's Yann Kermogant. We go back to the wheel, and I'm going to move to the right, and John is up next. So, John, who are you going to get? Anyone in particular that you want to get, John?
Probably would have been Yann Kermogant, to be honest. I rather would have been my favourite, but
It's not bad.
Steve Fletcher.
Who's he?
It's not a bad second. Steve Fletcher's stats coming your way, and he is a legend. 2 spells at AFC Bournemouth, and he also scored a massive goal in the history of AFC Bournemouth, John.
Oh, it wasn't that big, was it? I mean, I can't remember it that well, to be fair.
I don't think he's ever spoken about it.
No, he certainly didn't. He certainly hasn't ever. No, absolute legend of the club. All-time record appearance maker for the club. And I don't know that'll ever be beaten. Was it 600 and over 650? I believe, isn't it? Something absolutely ridiculous like that. He ended up getting shifted out the door. Of course, it wasn't when I think was it O'Driscoll that was shifted him out the door. I want to say, and then Eddie Howe comes around and says that when Eddie Howe comes in and says, I really need you back at the club, where he was back at Crawley at the time, and dropped everything he could to rejoin the project. And obviously, in the end, it all paid off when he scored that goal against Grimsby to secure our survival in the last home game of the season. And then obviously he went on from there. He was still part of the team that ended up getting promoted the following season. He continued to play the odd game in League One, if I remember correctly, and then obviously retired not long after, before being part of the Bournemouth support staff in coaching, in scouting role initially, and obviously he's a first team coach now and has been for a good few years and has survived the cull, as it were, and is still part of the staff. So. And I think it's right that he's the only player that's ever had a stand named after him while still playing. It's a shame that his face isn't actually on the stand anymore. I think that must have been rained on too many times, and the hair wasn't good enough anymore. So it had to be taken down. Not that I've got anything to say about that. But I mean, there's not really much you can add to Steve Fletcher and what hasn't already been said about the man, the character, that celebration, those muscles. He's just an absolute legend of the club. It's going to take a brave person not to vote for him, I think, to be in this team. And
Dan, this must have been your era. I mean, you must have been 2. You would have been at the playoff. You would have been at the playoff final when he scored that sort of volley and then celebrated with the arms. I mean, one of your heroes, surely.
He is one of my heroes, despite me not knowing a hell of a lot about him when he was my hero, other than he was just a legend. I think he was alongside Liam Feeney, him and Steve Fletcher, 2 of my favourites. I was a mascot. Unfortunately, this wasn't when Eddie Howe was manager. This was Lee Bradbury. So when I went in there, I didn't meet Eddie. I met Lee Bradbury, which is not as good. He was. I got a picture with him, which I still have. I found not too long ago. And I remember he wasn't playing that day, but I was insistent I had to walk out with him no matter what, even though he wasn't playing. Ended up with Sean Cooper, I think. My dad's one of my dad's favourite players as well, so I think that's what influenced me. But definitely a legend, as the stand.
When were you born, Dan?
2001.
Wow, he signed for us originally in 1993, I think.
Yeah, so yeah,
that puts it into context a bit.
I was nearly right. He would have been about 2 in that playoff final against Lincoln. Okay.
Can I just add, Kurt? Can I just add very quickly, because a lot he's much criticised for his goal scoring record, Fletch. But I mean, and Steve probably remember as well. Going back, so many strikers who did score a lot of goals owe so much to him. You look, even you go back to Steve Jones, you go back to Mark Steen, you go back to Jermaine Defoe in his first spell, all credited Fletch for all their goal scoring record. And I think Eddie Howe still actually says that, although obviously Eddie Howe gets applauded, I don't think we would have survived as a football club without Fletch coming back. And that's not just about his goal against Grimsby. I'm talking about his actual impact when he came back. I don't think we would have been around as a club, and that means everything.
We'll give an extra contribution to Steve Fletcher there, because he would have taken it anyway. So we'll do it. Let's go back to the wheel then. We'll go to Steve now, from one Steve to another. Ooh. And who is Steve Hensman going to get with 3 players left? The wheel decider will decide. It's coming round to young Callum Wilson from Coventry City. £3 million.
£3 million, wasn't it?
Eddie Howe took a punt. What a player and what a punt it was, Steve.
Absolutely. He was, no, I didn't really know much about him when he turned up. Don't think many people did. But what a player he turned out to be. And like we've talked about before, that little partnership he struck up with Yann in the championship winning season was just magical at times. The just link up play between the pair of them was brilliant. But I mean, Callum was, blistering pace, would run off the shoulder of the defenders all day long, run the channels. Great goal scoring record. Our only, I believe it's our only England international to ever score, isn't it? For us, in AFC Bournemouth and score a goal for his country. So that goes to show how well he developed from that, that guy from Coventry, and especially after some of the awful injuries, well, the couple of knee injuries he had, which, that goal scoring record would have been a lot more had he not had to pretty much sit out 2 seasons. I'm trying to think of times where he had a bad game, and I can't really, none of them really spring to mind. Nothing really springs to mind. He proved it in the Championship, he proved it in the Premier League. Still doing it now, obviously, for Newcastle. I don't think we would have got anywhere near promotion from the Championship if it hadn't have been for Callum Wilson. So massive respect to him for what he put into that team.
And like Steve says, John, a player that scored in every division and also made the England setup, and that's off the back of 2 horrific injuries as well. Yeah,
I mean, it's just amazing how consistent he was for so long until those injuries came up. I mean, if you ignore the penalty that got saved for his hat-trick in the very first game he played for us against Huddersfield, he just couldn't stop putting in the back of the net, to be honest. And he was playing for an incredible side as well that just kept serving balls up to him almost on a plate on a regular basis with the wide play we had. But he was always in the right place, the right time. Scored our first ever Premier League goal against West Ham. Scored our first home Premier League goal. That was against Leicester City with an overhead kick. He was our, and then obviously it was that horrific first injury against Stoke.
Did he get a hat trick in that West Ham game? The first?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was our first Premier League hat trick. So many firsts for us, and it's just how well he did, and it's just a shame that sort of towards the end of the time in our Premier League career, he just was so unlucky for us in our survival attempts. The couple of things he did ended up just going wrong for him towards the end of the time, and he wasn't utilised. I don't think he was really able to perform as well in the way that we were playing in our final Premier League season. But the only times that he really ever didn't perform was when he was coming back from his injury. I remember the first time round, it was the back heel flick against West Brom that was his first goal back after the first injury, which was one hell of a tidy little finish as well. And then he just got back at it again before the second injury happened. So if it wasn't for those, he probably would have been at the Euros if it hadn't been for those 2 injuries, the way that he kept performing. And just in a different way to Steve Fletcher, still an absolute legend of the club.
Before we move on, a great striker he was, though. There is split opinion on whether he could hold up the ball. Now, going round everyone, a simple yes or a no. Was Callum Wilson decent at holding up the ball? Aaron?
Yeah, I'm going to err with yes, because I think he had a lot of strength, upper body strength, pushed players off the ball.
It's one word.
Yeah, it's a bit more than one word, isn't
Yeah.
John, yes or no?
No.
Dan, yes or no?
Yes.
Steve, yes or no?
No.
We didn't achieve anything doing that, did we?
No.
No.
Let's go back to the wheel
then.
then.
It's still a no.
Okay, so we've got 2 players left, and we go to Dan, Josh King, or Brett Pitman.
I don't know who I prefer here, to be honest.
Yeah, 2 different types of players. You're gonna get
Super Brett
Pitman. And Dan, for someone who couldn't really run that well, he definitely left Fulham in his wake. Brett Pitman.
Yeah. I think he's a club legend, Brett Pitman. I don't think there's too many disputes. He's been with the club for a while. I remember meeting him. He seemed like I remember meeting him, and my dad just went up to him. He was at a bar, and he just went up to him, and no one was speaking to him. And my dad just went up to him and just started having a normal chat. Seems like a pretty laid back guy. Obviously, he wasn't. He was very, very good finisher, despite not being the quickest. And yeah, definitely was a crucial player through our rise of the leagues.
A lot of appearances there, Dan. All different types of goals. Like we said, he scored goals taken on players from his own half in lower leagues and in the Championship as well. Scored free kicks. Just variety. An all-round number 9 striker. Yeah, and it really goes to show. But you have. So I remember I spoke to my dad about there's the contrast of strikers we've had. So we've had, like, when we had Jermaine Defoe when he first joined. Supposedly he was just this super quick that none of the defenders could catch him. He was nimble, quick, and then you have Brett Pitman, which is almost the opposite of that, pace wise. But it's just move with the ball really nicely. Got himself into spaces. Finishing was really good, and a club legend for sure. And Darren, a player that tried to go away from Bournemouth to try and take his career to the next level, did he go to Bristol City? But he did come back. I mean, what was that period like for Brett Pitman?
I think it was tough for him. I think, he felt at the time, I think we were just we were still in League One, weren't we, when he left?
We just got promoted.
Yeah, so we got promoted, and he obviously felt, he was championship level and he wanted to give it a go. But I think, and this whole series is about Eddie Howe, and I think Eddie Howe got the best out of Brett Pitman. And I think Brett Pitman was the first to recognise that. He always had his arm around him. He had his faults, Brett, but Eddie always seemed to get the best out of him. And again, another player who just again wasn't fancy for the Premier League, and that Eddie was ruthless with that. There was no room for sentiment. I think back to certain players like Glenn Murray, who gave us that incredible moment at Chelsea, and was a box player. And I still think Brett potentially could always come off the bench as one of the best finishers we've ever seen, and done that in the Premier League. No, maybe not consistently, but maybe sometimes. So, yeah, shame for him again. He never made the step up. But again, as has been said, real legend at the club in the lower leagues, and instrumental in getting promoted. Oh, this is so tough. But we go back to the wheel. This is the final time I'm going to spin this, guys. I'm almost emotional about it.
Emotional, yeah.
The final time. Spin that wheel. God, last striker, last player. Bit of a weird one, really.
Interesting,
we can always do the Groves years after this if you want.
Wouldn't take too long.
Gosh. King, so a player that I think we got through a compensation package from Blackburn, probably a couple of 100,000, whatever it was, came into the Premier League. Oh, yeah. Remember, he started his days off at Man United, and a player that gave you a lot of power, speed, strength. Now, we talked last season about not having a natural number 9 striker, and to me, he wasn't a natural number 9 striker. I don't think he ever got past 10 goals in a season until he came to Bournemouth. But the one season that we needed him to step up was in that season, if I'm right, guys, when Callum Wilson done his ACL, and he scored some big goals. I don't know if it was in the same season. He scored against United, he scored against Villa. But Steve, he did score goals, but then for some reason it got sour. But, good times for Josh King and some sour times.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he came in our first Premiership season from, I think, like you said, Blackburn. And I always remember watching him. I think it was a cup match for Blackburn where he absolutely destroyed. He scored a hat trick.
Stoke.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Against Stoke, yeah. And I watched that, and then I heard we were signing him, and I couldn't believe our luck. I thought, blood, hell, he's incredible. He's so pacey, so big and strong. Got a hell of a finish on him. I thought I was really excited, and he did. Had like you say, had a few seasons for us and did the business. He was always a little bit overshadowed by Callum, I felt, but he was a different type of player to Callum. Like you said, he used to drop deep quite a lot, try and pick up the ball. Sometimes he was played out on the left quite a bit. But does he have our record for most Premier League goals?
Yeah.
Is that right?
In a season, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I want to say like 16, but if someone knows that, put it in the comments. I think it's about 16.
Yeah. I mean, so he always, no matter what you think of him, because people always sort of said he was a little bit of a misery, he always performed for us on the pitch, I felt. I don't think too many times he ever let us down. But yeah, it did. It all went a bit... it didn't go as bad as someone else, but it sort of was edging towards that way, wasn't it?
Dan, I mean, Josh King, your thoughts on Josh King, the seasons he had with AFC Bournemouth, and look where he is now.
Yeah, he's quite as we said, it's a little bit of an unfortunate ending, as Steve alluded to. Not as unfortunate as it could have been, for sure. But yeah, a very versatile player. As I said, he could play out wide, he could play behind. And yeah, that season where he was just scoring for fun when Callum was out, and it's mad because he's such a talented player, and to see the sort of not decline. I know it probably is a decline, unfortunately, but towards the end of his time at Bournemouth, especially in the Championship, whether his head was really with the club or not, but and then yeah, it's unfortunate to see where he is now. He's a free agent, isn't he? Everton haven't given him a new...
We're not going to talk about where he's gone now. He has.
I didn't even know that. But he was a... Yeah, I think overshadowed is probably the right word by Callum. I think Callum was always sort of at the top. You'd pick him over Josh King most times, apart from that season. But yeah, scored some really important goals and such a natural talent as well. And he'd work so immensely hard every single game, and he'd chase loose balls. Relatively strong, actually, I thought, like Callum. So yeah, it was definitely some good memories with him.
That's it. We've done all the debating, episode 8, and you've done all you can for these players. Now we're going to give you that warning. Who are you going to pick for those 2 striking positions? Who's Steve, Dan, Aaron, and John going to pick? Let's find out. But there's a twist, guys. We're going to have to wait, because what we're going to do is we're going to go to a live stream not long after this video, and we're going to do the results live, and we want you to get involved as well on the chat, and collectively all us 5 and you in the chat are going to fill that squad. Aaron, you're going to have to wait to give you decisions. How do you feel about this? And are you excited about filling this team?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tough. I think I've got my top 3, and it's going to be difficult to choose 2 of them.
John, you going to give much away?
Oh, I don't know. I'm struggling to come out with 2, to be honest, at this point. It is a very tough choice when there are a lot of very, very strong candidates. And yeah, well, hopefully I won't be the first one to give my answers. Let's put it that way.
Dan, this is going to be easy. Don't give us your answers yet. But how are you feeling about filling this squad?
Yeah. This is the easiest one by far, I think. Just a 2 there that you can easily see. No, this is probably. I think this is one where everyone's in contention here to win, and I think there are probably 3 that maybe go above, in my opinion. But I'll have to see what people think.
And Steve, you're always a dark horse. If there's a curveball coming in, it's coming from you.
I'm just a bit annoyed that you've missed a trick here. You could have pre-set up the EastEnders music. Who are you going to pick? No, I think I've discounted 2 of them, and I'm a bit like Aaron. Said he's got it down to 3, and I think I may be in the same ballpark. I think.
Guys, thank you for joining me on this episode. To be continued. So check out tradersredarmy.co.uk. Hit that notification bell. There'll be a live stream coming not long after this video. Join us. Let us know your thoughts and help us finish this lineup. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, mate.
No problem.
And until the next video, we'll see you soon. To be continued.